It's early morning in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The streets are mostly empty, with only a few cars passing by. The sun is just starting to rise, casting a soft glow over the houses and trees. A black man in his late 40s is driving down the road in a sleek, well-maintained luxury sedan. He's dressed sharply in a dark suit, his posture relaxed but confident. His name is Michael Carter, though no one watching would know just yet that he's the head of internal affairs. As he drives, his hands rest easily on the steering wheel. His face is calm, his mind focused on the day ahead. But then, in his rearview mirror, he notices something, a police cruiser following him. At first, he thinks nothing of it, but the car doesn't pass. It lingers. A moment later, the red and blue lights flash. Michael glances at the mirror again, his expression unreadable. With a quiet sigh, he signals and pulls over to the side of the road. He doesn't panic. He doesn't argue. He simply waits, knowing exactly how this is going to go. Officer Bradley Coleman, a man in his mid-30s with a sharp jawline and an air of authority, strides up to the car. His movements are tense, almost aggressive, as if he's already decided something about the man behind the wheel. Without hesitation, he raises a knuckle and raps on the window, hard and impatient. Michael Carter, still calm, presses the button, and the window hums down smoothly. Bradley doesn't waste time. His lips curl into something close to a smirk as he barks out, "License and registration." Michael nods, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. "Sure, officer. May I ask why I'm being stopped?" His voice is polite, steady. Bradley's smirk widens into something almost mocking. "I'll be asking the questions. Step out of the car." His tone leaves no room for argument. For a brief moment, neither man moves. Michael simply studies the officer, his expression unreadable. There's no resistance, no fear, just patience. It's a patience that, instead of easing the situation, only seems to push Bradley's irritation further. Bradley shifts on his feet, exhaling sharply. His gaze flickers over the luxury sedan, then back to Michael. His voice drips with condescension as he mutters, "This car looks too nice for you." He lets the words hang in the air before adding, "You fit the description of someone we're looking for." Michael doesn't react, at least not in the way Bradley expects. He doesn't fidget, doesn't argue. He just watches. It's subtle, but it's enough to make Bradley's jaw tighten. The tension between them thickens, though only one of them seems to feel it. Bradley's patience is running thin. His eyes narrow as he steps closer, standing just inches from Michael. "Hands on the car," he orders, his voice sharp. Michael doesn't resist. He exhales slowly and places his palms flat against the cool metal of his sedan. His movements are smooth, controlled, nothing like the guilty man Bradley wants him to be. A second police car pulls up, tires crunching against the pavement. Officer Jake Miller, younger and visibly uneasy, steps out. He glances at Bradley, then at Michael. Something about the scene doesn't sit right with him, but he keeps his mouth shut. Bradley wastes no time. He yanks open the driver's side door and starts searching the vehicle with unnecessary force, flipping open compartments, tugging at the seats, shoving aside personal belongings. His hands move fast, almost desperate, as if he needs to find something, anything, to justify what he's doing. Michael tilts his head slightly, still calm. "I suggest you stop. You're making a big mistake." His tone isn't aggressive, but there's something in it, certainty, maybe even authority. Bradley barely acknowledges him, scoffing as he reaches for his cuffs. "Big mistake, huh?" He snaps one cuff around Michael's wrist. "Let's see how big when you're sitting in a holding cell." Michael doesn't resist. He doesn't fight back. But as Bradley tightens the second cuff around his other wrist, he speaks again, voice steady. "You're going to regret this." Bradley lets out a low chuckle, shaking his head. "Yeah. What are you, some kind of lawyer?" Michael doesn't answer. Instead, he just smirks, just enough for Bradley to notice. And for the first time, a flicker of doubt flashes across the officer's face. Bradley grabs his radio, still full of confidence, and calls in Michael's ID. "Running a check on a possible suspect," he mutters, watching Michael with a smug look. There's silence on the other end. A long one. Too long. Bradley frowns. "Dispatch, do you copy?" Finally, a voice crackles through, shaky, nervous. Officer Coleman. Release him immediately. Bradley scoffs. What? Why? He glances at Michael, who remains perfectly calm, then back at his radio. Before he can argue, Jake, standing slightly to the side, decides to check the database himself. His fingers fly across the screen of his in-car computer. A few seconds pass. Then his face drains of color. His voice is almost a whisper when he reads aloud, Michael Carter, Head of Internal Affairs. The weight of those words hits Bradley like a punch to the stomach. His smirk vanishes. His grip on Michael's arm loosens. His confidence, his arrogance, it all crumbles in an instant. Michael, still cuffed, stands tall. He meets Bradley's eyes without anger, without fear, just an unsettling certainty. Now, Officer Coleman, he says, voice smooth, let's talk about racial profiling. The words hang in the air like a bomb waiting to go off. Jake doesn't wait. His hands move quickly, fumbling slightly as he unlocks the cuffs. The metal clinks as they fall away. Michael takes a deep breath, brushing off his sleeves like nothing happened. He doesn't look angry, just firm, controlled. The kind of composure that makes people nervous. He turns to Bradley, eyes locked on him. How many times have you done this? His voice is steady, but the weight behind it is impossible to ignore. Bradley swallows hard, his earlier confidence gone. I didn't know who you were. His voice is weak now, desperate. Michael steps closer, not breaking eye contact. That's the problem, he says. You shouldn't need to know someone's title to treat them with respect. Bradley looks away, his face burning with shame. Jake, still standing nearby, shifts uncomfortably. He's seeing everything in a new light. Michael doesn't wait for excuses. He pulls out his phone and makes a call, straight to the department. I need an internal investigation started. Officer Bradley Coleman, badge number 4527. Racial profiling and misconduct. Jake exhales slowly, glancing at Bradley, then back at Michael. For the first time, he realizes how deep the problem really is. He takes a step forward. If you need a statement, I'll give one. Bradley flinches. He knows his career is hanging by a thread. But for Michael, this isn't about just one officer. It's about a system that's been broken for too long. And today, at least, justice is being served. Bradley's worst fear becomes reality. His badge is taken, and he's placed on suspension while the investigation unfolds. He doesn't argue. He knows there's nothing he can say to fix this. The weight of his actions finally hits him, but it's too late. Word spreads fast. Officers whisper in hallways, some defending him, others shaking their heads. The department feels the shift. This isn't just another complaint that will get buried. This one has consequences. A few days later, Michael stands at the front of a packed briefing room. The air is tense. Some officers avoid his gaze, others watch closely, knowing this moment is bigger than just one bad cop. Michael scans the room before speaking. This isn't about one officer making a mistake. It's about a culture that allows it to happen over and over again. His voice is calm but firm, carrying the weight of experience. Racism doesn't belong in this department. Profiling doesn't belong here. And if you think otherwise, you don't belong here either. The room stays silent. No one dares to interrupt. We wear this badge to serve and protect. Not to judge. Not to intimidate. If you can't treat every citizen with respect, regardless of their skin color, you have no business wearing this uniform. Some officers shift in their seats, uncomfortable. Others nod, understanding the message loud and clear. Michael steps back, letting his words settle. This department will change. And it starts today. With that, he walks out, leaving behind a room full of people forced to face the truth. Michael steps out of the station, the cool evening air hitting his face as he takes a deep breath. It's been a long day, but a necessary one. Change doesn't happen overnight, but today was a step in the right direction. As he reaches his car, he hears footsteps behind him. He turns to see Jake standing there, looking unsure but determined. "Sir," Jake says hesitantly, "I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to help fix this." Michael studies him for a moment, then gives a small nod of approval. Then start by speaking up. When you see something wrong, don't look away. Jake nods, taking those words to heart. He watches as Michael gets into his car, the weight of the day still lingering, but there's a sense of hope, too. The engine hums as Michael pulls away, headlights cutting through the dark street. Justice was served today, but the fight isn't over. It never really is. Imagine getting pulled over for no reason, just because of the color of your skin. Now, imagine the officer realizes too late that the man he's harassing is actually his boss. That's exactly what happens in this shocking story of power, racism, and justice. Stay tuned, this one's going to hit hard. And that, right there, is why accountability matters. What do you think? Should Officer Bradley be fired, or does he deserve a second chance? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more eye-opening content like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And don't stop here. Check out our other videos for more powerful stories that'll make you think. See you in the next one.